I have told him this already, but I really appreciate the time in what is a very transitive part of his life now. He is the all-time winningest coach in FAU basketball history. I think it's safe to say he's the father of FAU basketball. 6 straight winning seasons, 60 wins in the past 2 years, 2 NCAA tournament appearances, and a trip to the Final Four in 2023. He is the new head basketball coach at Michigan, now former FAU head man Dusty May with us here. LaVicka, Theo and Stone on ESPN 106.3. And, Coach, I guess just simply starting this way, the last 36 hours for Dusty May have felt like what?
Well, Ken, just the fact that I realized that we played 2 days ago, it seems like 3 weeks ago at this point. Yesterday was an extremely long day after meeting with the team and meeting with our players individually and staff. Very emotional day, and it set me back on what I needed to be doing for my next job. But this was the most important thing. This place left such a mark on me, and I look forward to being a part of FAU basketball forever.
You mentioned something that I wanted to ask you about how you told the team, so everybody was able to get together, and then you met with everybody individually as well after the fact?
Yeah, once I made the decision what we were going to do, I was going to set a team meeting. At that point, they basically told me that that's very naive in this era. As soon as you call a team meeting, everyone's going to know. It's going to get leaked. It's almost impossible unless you can just do it randomly or organically. And so it was obviously leaked that night, and our players, they found out. But I also wanted to see them in person the next morning. So we all met in the locker room at 9 a.m. I spoke to the team, and then Brian White named Kyle the interim coach and told them the next step. I wasn't in there for that, so I'm not sure what happened. But, it was also nice to have everyone in one place again together, because that's a special group that, they represented this place in the highest regard.
So, FAU head coach, former FAU head coach, I know I was going to make that mistake, Dusty May with us here on ESPN 106.3, heading to Michigan, where he's going to be introduced 11 a.m. Eastern time tomorrow in Ann Arbor. I really felt like once January hit, this very much felt like a last ride. And I think that was explicitly said in the Athletic piece that was put out right before the NCAA tournament about this team. And you always have that 1% maybe. And it was never going to be my place in the season to be like, oh, Dusty, where's your head at with all of this? What got rid of that 1% of maybe Dusty would stay was after the game in the hotel when we're getting food so we can get to the airport and get out of New York and get back to South Florida, and you said, sorry, it had to end that way, Ken. I knew right then. Also, don't ever apologize to me for anything ever again. I mean, no need for that ever. But also, it brings me to this question. When we got on the plane last Wednesday to go to New York City and prepare for the NCAA tournament, did you know that you were, however long the NCAA tournament run was going to last for FAU, that you were embarking on your final games or game as the head coach at Florida Atlantic?
Absolutely not. The same thing happened last year, Ken, where the search firms reach out. They ask your interest. You tell them if you would be. You tell them your plans. And then they would ask, would you like us to wait on you? And the response was, that's up to you. I don't know if my mindset will change in a week or two. I'm not sure, but whatever you need to do for your position. And the same thing was happening this year. It just happened that several of these jobs were targeting me, and I had more options. I don't say a few more options. But to be honest, Ken, I would tell my wife, I wish they would all just go in another direction so I wouldn't have to make a decision. And so I really then I start reading on Twitter that I'm going to this job and that job, and all of that was I don't know if it's just for clicks or what, but it wasn't true. And so when I got back, it was like, okay, now we got to shift and make a decision. And hadn't met with Michigan in person, and so I drove to Fort Lauderdale, met with a group that flew down, and decided after 2, 3, 4 hours that was the best thing for my family and my career. Obviously, selfishly, I made the best decision for me. But yeah, it was very difficult, and deep down, I wanted all of them to not go after me, so I wouldn't have a decision to make, and I could stay at FAU and continue building this and remain happy, because I know that I was happy here.
Here with Michigan head coach Dusty May, leaves Florida Atlantic as the winningest coach in FAU history. And so you met with a Michigan contingent after consuming what they told you and after conversing with them. Why ultimately did you decide it was time for Dusty May to leave Florida Atlantic?
Well, Ken, there's a lot of layers to that. I did feel like that group, The Last Dance, seemed applicable because that group had just kind of, I don't want to say changed, but they had grown a year, and so they all wanted a little bit more. So everyone was a little bit frustrated in their role. And because of all the attention we received and all the things that come with the modern athlete, modern program, we weren't quite as cohesive. Now, I would tell the guys that last year we were in the 100th percentile in team cohesiveness, and this year we were probably in the 95th percentile, which is still exceptional, but it wasn't the standard we set for ourselves. And so it just felt different, and at times even I felt like maybe this group, they've heard my voice too much. Just when things like that start happening. And as a coach, I'd been here 6 years, and sometimes just a different challenge or something new, it reinvigorates you. And, Ann and I are about to be empty nesters, and so everything about our lives have changed, and we wanted a new challenge, and hopefully it's the right decision. You never know. It was very, very difficult. It's still difficult. I've still introduced myself a couple times on the phone as FAU head, and then I have to catch myself as well, Ken. But, at no point did I ever think I'm out after the season. It was more of when the season's over, we'll evaluate whatever's in front of us and make a decision based on the information. And that's kind of how I do everything. Now, there are times when it creeps into your head when you're watching TV and whatever the case. Absolutely. We're human. But at no point was I preoccupied with chasing a job, because I didn't want to chase any and had no desire to even go through that process.
So you mentioned job chasing, and there was this prevailing thought, I think, nationwide that, hey, you would just stay at FAU until Indiana came open, and then you would be the front runner for the Hoosiers job, a place that you have a special place in your heart for. Why Michigan? What was it about Michigan in your discussions with them that had you say, all right, let's go to Ann Arbor?
Oh, I'm sure I'm going to be asked that question tomorrow.
Yeah.
So this is probably
this will be your prep
warm-up, Ken.
Yeah,
this is good prep work. Michigan, when we lived, Ann and I, Eli was born in Ann Arbor. We lived there for a year when I was at Eastern Michigan, and just the power of that brand and the amount of pride people had in it. We were always very, it just felt unique. And I don't know why, just at different times of our life, certain things feel right. And I've always said, I told a couple other jobs that this one just fit better. And fit means a lot of different things, but it felt right. It fit. I think we can win at an extremely high level there. I think we can recruit nationally. I think we have everything we need to be successful. And so I just felt like at this point for me, it just felt right. And it's really, I hate to say, but it's that simple, because all of them are providing generational wealth. All of them are providing all the bells and whistles to be successful. So it really just came down to, I grew up in Big Ten country, and I watched Big Ten basketball every day of my life until I got away from it. And so it's a unique challenge to go back to your roots at this point in your life when you've raised a family. And So yeah, just the feel, the fit is kind of the same reason I took this job. I felt the people here were the right people to get us over the hump, and that's ultimately what it was. The leadership of Dr. Kelly and on to Dr. Volnick and Brian White and Michael Graffine and Alvin and Mary and all them. It was just it's a special group of people in a leadership position, and so this one was just different. It felt right on all fronts.
Dusty May to be introduced as Michigan's head basketball coach tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. This is his last interview before he heads up to Michigan and embarks on the newest chapter in his career. LaVicka, Theo and Stone here on ESPN 106.3. So as you depart here, Coach, do you offer a recommendation for your successor, seeing that, I mean, most people, the vast majority, maybe all people, consider you responsible for what this program is? Do you recommend who might take over? Any input whatsoever here?
Obviously, I would have a preference to hiring from within. Brian's going to make the right decision for FAU and this basketball program, just like he's done for all the other sports. But I do think there's institutional knowledge of how it was built. And it wasn't me, Ken. It was so many of us, brick by brick, fan by fan, call by call. And so obviously I get a lot of the credit and whatnot because ultimately we made a lot of the right decisions and brought the right people in and whatnot. And obviously you lead by example. But so many people contributed to this. And there's guys on our current staff, they're equipped to do the job. It's just a matter of it's the right time and right situation. I've used the example of Gonzaga. Dan Munson leaves to go to Minnesota, and it never skips a beat. It keeps getting better and better, and it's still getting better and more consistent. And Dan Munson gets fired after 5 years at Minnesota, and then he's at Long Beach State, nonetheless. And then you have the example of Wichita State, where Greg Marshall, they're in the Final Four, and then he leaves, and a couple years later, they're the 13th seed in the American Conference Tournament. You never know what happens next and what the next thing is, but it's those are the tough decisions that administrators and coaches and we have to make. But without a doubt, we do take great pride in leaving this place better than we found it. We worked with great people, and hopefully. We represented FAU and helped with an identity and a model of something that's better than all of us as individuals. It's we did it with each other, we did it as a group, and ultimately that's the thing this generation's missing, the feeling of great teamwork and partnership because we've become so individualized as a society.
A few more here with Michigan head coach Dusty May, former FAU head man. And I do want to ask you, just off of what you just said, certainly there's a lot of work to do within the program. This has been very much a work in progress to update things, to make sure that things are more financially viable. Do you feel like, while this was a perfect confluence of events that led us to this point, this program is now sustainable, or is there still some work to do?
Without a doubt, it's sustainable. It's prepared to move into the next chapter with a lot of built-in advantages. And like I said, an identity, and people recognize the name, they recognize the brand. And so there are a lot of things that make this place much more attractive than it was 2 years ago, 3 years ago, whatever the case. And the infrastructure obviously is improving daily. So it's a place that is going to continue to improve in all the sports. There's great coaches here. The facilities, there's a commitment to improving facilities. So I would be excited for the future of FAU. And I know when I come back on vacation or to sneak away, I'm confident I'll drive through FAU and just see continuous improvement.
I think I've told you this before, because everything was such a blur at Madison Square Garden at the conclusion of the Elite Eight win over Kansas State. My most cherished memory of your tenure at FAU, and one of the single best moments of my life, period, was just standing in Times Square. BJ Greenlee and I are chatting. His father is next to us, and BJ says, "Man, This is what it's all about. And I thought it was just so poetic from him. And he was right. And then I walk inside, toast a drink to you real quick while you're sitting with Mike White and some of your former assistants who are now at Georgia. And just the whole thing was such a euphoric feeling. What, if you could pick one, and I know there's a lot of them, but if you could pick one, what's the one moment you cherish most in your time at Florida Atlantic?
Oh, man, Ken, it's still the day we won conference championship on our home court with the confetti because all of our families were there. You were there. Your girls were there. All of our players. Anyone that was important with the growth of our program and building it was in the same spot in a familiar place in the spot where it happened, where all the work went into it. So even to this day, Ken, the Final Four was awesome. And hearing Jim Nance say Florida Atlantic and say Anna Mae and whatnot was the highlight, and being in that moment, walking on that court, and Houston was, like you said, euphoric. My most cherished moment was the day we cut down the nets on our home court with Boca there, families, friends, everybody that was a part of our program was in one spot, celebrating something special, and little did we know that was going to be a blip compared to what we were about to do.
Yeah, that's the best way to put it. Boy, that is a great, great, great observation. Everybody was all in one place, like literally everybody. If you had one regret, what would it be in your 6 years at Florida Atlantic?
One regret. Oh, man, Ken, I'm hard on myself. I have about a million regrets just popped into my head. I should have worn a helmet more as I was riding my bike. That could have been dangerous. I wish we could have taken this team a little bit further. We didn't max out as a group, and rarely do you. I wish we would have taken the last year's team a little bit further, one game further. This team, we had a great season. We did much better than almost everyone else in our situation with what was thrown at us in such a in quick pace. But yeah, no, I leave FAU with no regrets. I've loved it here. Boca, South Florida's raised my family. There haven't been very many days where I had to walk in the borough, now the Ellie, and be excited to attack that day. So for that to happen, you have to be surrounded by great people and those that are committed to the same things that you are.
So now you're the money game giver as opposed to the receiver at Michigan. You going to schedule FAU?
That'll be to be determined. I would absolutely love to, though. That would be it would be difficult, but if all the same people are here and the players, everything, I wouldn't want to compete against those guys unless we had to in a tournament. Maybe when this group is flushed out, then absolutely I would love to bring my team down here or do it up there. But there needs to be some time.
That was going to be my next question. Home and home. I'll even take a 2-for-1. Perfect. Excellent. I love that. So you have some expendable income now. You're going to be looking for a home up there in Ann Arbor. What are you doing with the Boca house? Now, are you going to sell it? Are you going to rent it? What's the plan with you and Anna?
Right now, with three teenage and Zach's graduated, we're just going to kind of hang tight, and I'm sure one of them will live in it temporarily, and Anna will be back and forth, and I'll be back and forth. So right now, we're just playing it by ear, trying not to go house broke in Ann Arbor, so we can have both, but. We don't really know. This has all happened so fast, Ken, and we didn't plan very well. So we're scrambling now.
I know you love riding your bike. That's not going to be very possible in the wintertime in Ann Arbor. I know you have a Peloton bike. If you need any hints on what classes to take or how to keep yourself fit, I will definitely assist you there. I have one final question for you, just because I'm curious. Are you nervous?
No, not really. I actually told my wife this morning that I stayed up all night before my press conference here. It was the first one I've done. I was terribly nervous, and now I'm not nervous at all about it. I'm sure I will be tomorrow. But no, that's part of like being I was a head coach for 6 years, so all of my anxieties and imperfections I've worked on, and I still have many more to tackle. But no, I don't have the same nerves now. The roster building, and it's similar to what we were here, where you don't know what you're going to have next week. So we've got a lot of work to do, but I'm excited for the challenge. It's it's just like everywhere else. Everything is so fluid now that there's new obstacles, but. I'm definitely at my age. I'm still young enough to attack it head on and with great energy.
I said this earlier. You have you did the impossible. I never ever could have possibly foreseen what this program was able to do, and you touched a lot of lives. You built a fan base where there wasn't one, in an area where college basketball there's not a terrible amount of passion for it, and you made it the toughest ticket in town. So I want to thank you for that. You're obviously leaving it much better than how you received it, and appreciate the time you made for me, for my family. You were very, very good to us, and I cannot believe you're going to make me root for another Big Ten team, not Illinois. It drives me absolutely insane. So I would wish you good luck, but you're not going to need it because you're going to go up there, you're going to win, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you do at Michigan.
Hey, Ken, I'm going to leave on one more thing other than the snowmobile versus the bicycle. Majority of the texts that I've received from people that around Boca, they've all been very, very complimentary of the way our guys played as a team and the way they interacted with the fans and the students. And that's something that's really, really unique and cool about this place. So I'm sure that's not going to change because Boca has adopted this team, this athletic department, and I can't wait to watch it grow.
Coach, really appreciate everything. Have a great introductory press conference tomorrow, and we'll talk to you down the road, okay?
All right. Thank you, Ken.
It's Theo Dorsey. If you love that video, make sure you like, subscribe, and comment to get more just like that one. Also, don't get stuck paying for someone else's negligence. Lytal, Reiter, Smith, Ivey, and Fronrath has been representing injured people and their families for more than 3 decades. They can represent you. Check them out at foryourrights.com and don't get stuck paying for someone else's negligence.